Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 men.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
You're not Bronny and I'm not Hal,
Thankfully.
but I will start the show with a little bit of recruiting.
Oh, yeah, there's every reason to.
2026 Clearwater, Florida offensive lineman Samuel, Rosenborough committing to Texas A&M. 6'3". One source has him at 6'5", 295 pounds. Plays tackle, may transition to interior, 4-star, and just a beast out of Florida.
Yeah, that's great. Clearwater's a nice town, and I hope he's a nice offensive lineman that actually ends up here. I get apprehensive about the out-of-state commits until I actually sign because, you know, we've been burned too many times. But, you know, they need offensive linemen, always need offensive linemen. So anytime you get a commitment from an offensive lineman, that's significant.
I believe this is the 5th commit in June. They're doing really well, and he might not be the only one here recently.
Yeah, you know, they had that big weekend, and hopefully some more guys will start casting their lot with the Aggies.
So I wanted to transition this segment to some new faces that Texas A&M is going to be facing in the 25 season. So a transfer potentially in a new role, or maybe just a guy who has been promoted to a new spot. Just the new faces, and some of these will just be SEC, new faces. But mostly, I want to focus on the faces that A&M is going to face.
Okay.
Faces that A&M is going to face.
Faces to face.
So. The Auburn Tigers, are you familiar with them as a program?
Yes, I am, very much so.
They have a new quarterback, I think you've heard.
Jackson Arnold.
Now, this guy, dual threat, yada, yada, yada. But here's the thing about Jackson Arnold. He didn't do much before.
No.
Can he do something with the new staff and a change of scenery?
Yeah, first of all, I think he's going to have a better offensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, he's got much better receivers, I believe. So, I don't know how much different the offensive line is going to be. I know they brought in a guy from Virginia Tech to play tackle. Speaking of faces to face, Xavier or somebody. And but yes, I would think just having better receivers and a better offensive coach
wouldn't that work for everybody?
Gives him.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how good he is. He himself may be limited, but if you have a limited quarterback, and I'm not saying he is because it's hard to say based on that Oklahoma offense last year. But the best thing you can do is surround him with as much talent as possible.
One of the guys they surrounded him with is, well, he's already got Cam Coleman there, but they're pairing him up with Eric Singleton, the Georgia Tech transfer. He topped over 700 yards twice at Georgia Tech with 10 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. But remember, they like to run the ball a lot.
Yeah, not as much as they used to.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, look, he was a very productive receiver. He averaged about 13 or 14 yards a catch. They may have the best receiver room in the conference.
Yep. Another one, look, Mississippi State, they don't have any names that jump off the page, but I am interested to see what a healthy Blake Shapen will do there. I think Michael Van Buren was really good, but they were just an atrocious team last year.
They were. Yeah, I don't know what to expect from them. I don't see why they're going to be any better than they were last year.
LSU Tigers. A&M plays them on October the 25th. Barian Brown is the name that I remember that was mentioned around A&M whenever he went into the portal from Kentucky. Caught 122 passes for 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns in a couple seasons. So it'll be interesting what he does with Grant Nussmeier, not Grant, Garrett Nussmeier. Yep.
And yet I thought more of the emphasis with their incoming receivers is the kid from Katy out of Oklahoma. Nick Anderson?
Nick Anderson, correct.
Yeah. And they're going to be looking at, like they always are, some transfers to try to bolster their defense. I'll believe their defense is a lot better when I see it.
Those Barry and Brown numbers are over 3 seasons, not 2. Yeah. Not 2. Patrick Payton, an edge, transfer from Florida State.
Yeah, they got somebody from Florida in too, I believe.
Yeah, and then they have a new center, okay, Braylon Moore, who played for Michigan and has played over 700 snaps as a pass blocker.
Huh. Not familiar with him. I wonder when he played at Michigan. Was he there last year as a backup or something?
Must be. This is taken from a CBS article. And Missouri Tigers, Damon Wilson, he's an edge. Ahmad Hardy. Now, there's another transfer for Missouri that they're waiting on, trying to get. Actually, it might be Ahmad Hardy, excuse me, who they haven't cleared just yet. But they're going to look completely different. New quarterback, new running back, new wide receivers.
Well, that's where you start with Missouri as your quarterback, right? Don't they have to transfer him from Penn State?
Yeah, Prabula.
Yeah, I might be just blinded, but I just cannot see how Missouri can be as good as they were last year. I don't know how you take the guys off the roster that they have to take off that first round draft choice who was an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I can't remember, Mimba or something like that. Their quarterback, Brady Cook, those receivers, Theo Weiss and Luther Burden.
Yep.
And they had a guy drafted pretty high in the defensive lineman and another guy like Christian Jackson or something like that, or Johnson. And he didn't get drafted. He signed a free agent contract, but he was real productive for them. So they lost some really good players.
Now, Rashal Faison is the running back I was mentioning, the transfer from Utah State, who's still waiting on his
eligibility.
eligibility.
Like 1,100 yards.
Yeah, he's 8. It says he had over 1,800 yards in 2 seasons at Utah State. So
yeah, last year's around 1,100, I think.
0 lost fumbles on 316 carries.
Now, I'll take that.
Heck yeah. Some other notables in the SEC that get a lot of love at Oklahoma, John Mateer. Will he disappear?
Yeah, I'm keeping an open mind, but just because you did well at Washington State doesn't mean that you're going to be this dominant player in the SEC.
Yep.
It might be. He might be. Jaden Daniels transferred out of the Pac-12, but yeah, I think that's a wait and see.
Jaden not there at Oklahoma. Georgia adds Zachariah Branch, who is a USC transfer.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what?
Real fast guy, plus a tall guy from A&M at receiver.
And this is going to be a topic that comes up later on in the show. I'm going to have Adam Spencer on at 9:35. He works for Saturday Down South. He did an article on overrated, underrated quarterbacks or where they should be. He had Marcel in the overrated category.
Interesting.
And I'm going to ask him why, because where should Marcel be rated?
Right, because I haven't seen anybody put him like in.
I've seen him 6 on a couple. Okay, if you want to say that a couple places have him at 6, that maybe that's a little hot. But who would you put above him? I don't understand that. But there's other quarterbacks he goes into that I'll see if I can find that article here as I'm talking to you. But my point is, I think Marcel's not overrated anywhere.
I just don't know how much he's rated right now. I mean, I think he's going to have a good year because I like what I saw from him last year, and I expect, like almost all quarterbacks do, for him to get better in his second year as a starter, in his first year as going into the season as a starter. But even I wouldn't put him, I might, at best, would probably put him 6th. At best.
I find this, I'm going to ask him because I just find some of these I agree. Arch Manning, is he being overrated in some places? Potentially, right? Like we haven't seen enough of him.
Yes, I got one of these periodicals yesterday.
Yeah.
And they have Arch Manning as projected as the all SEC first team quarterback.
Well, and then they have.
I'm thinking Sellers at South Carolina and Nussmeier at LSU are going, really?
You're right. Well, they have DJ Lagway on the same overrated section. And here's a name that caught my attention in the overrated section. Zach Calzada. Is he even rated?
Yeah, that's what I mean. How is he overrated?
Maybe properly rated?
What, you don't think he's gonna? You think he's? I think I saw somewhere where Calzada was picked by somebody as the 16th quarterback.
Yes, that's right. So is that overrated? I mean, there's not lower than 16. I just find that interesting. The properly rated section of his article: Lenora Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Diego Pavia, and Bo Perbula.
So, Bo Perbula, that we haven't seen play in the SEC, barely saw him play at all, right?
Right. Properly rated.
You know what?
I'm sure he's got a reason for it. Some other ones that are in the properly rated: Austin Simmons.
Oh, imagine that.
Joey Aguilar.
Okay.
He had an underrated section, if you would like to hear. I'm not being mean. I'd like to understand like the kind of the methodology behind it. Jackson Arnold on the underrated. John Mateer. I feel like John Mateer is getting a lot of love, by the way.
Yeah, really.
Taylon Green. Blake Shapen.
Taylor Green's all right. Blake Shapen, you're basing that on, what, 3 non-conference games? Okay. Hey, maybe you know more.
Time at Baylor, I guess. And Gunnar Stockton.
Gunnar Stockton could be. Because he was he was thrust into a situation much like Marcel, and he kind of performed much like Marcel.
Yeah. Look, again, to me, when you were talking about somebody being overrated or underrated, you take where they are and you wonder, well, they should be 3 or 4 spots higher, right? If Marcel is in the 6 to 10 range, sounds properly rated to me. Even 6 to 12. Like, I know that's a huge number, but there's so many questions in the SEC at quarterback that I think he's fine. Arch Manning, I can understand why he's being overrated, and I can understand why somebody would say he's overrated because there's not enough evidence. Just like most of these guys. DJ Lagway, potentially might be overrated. I love what I saw. Potentially could be overrated. Zach Calzada's not rated.
Yeah, that's a bizarre one. But, hey, like I said, everybody has a right to an opinion. The whole thing on Arch, I think, is kind of unfair to Arch. Not calling him overrated, but that when someone says, hey, he's going to be the first team All-SEC quarterback, or he's going to be the Heisman Trophy favorite, that's putting a lot of pressure on a guy that's barely played. In fact, that having Arch Manning on his overrated list, that may be the most accurate thing, and that's not even a shot at Arch.
No, it's not.
I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be a bad quarterback. I'm just questioning if he's going to be everything that some of these different outlets say he's going to be.
Let me read what he says about Marcel, okay?
Okay.
I'll be honest. I just don't see it from Reed as a passer. Okay. As a runner, he's solid. I think he's better than solid, but okay. But with A&M's receiving corps made up of NC State transfer Casey Concepcion and some question marks, Reed is going to have to take a major step forward throwing the ball. I don't disagree. He's got to take a major step forward. I just don't see it this year, maybe in 26. Okay. But the article's about who's overrated and not like where there's some holes to plug into his game.
I think he's just said a whole lot of things now, we can speculate, and apparently he's speculating that Marcel is not going to take a step forward. Okay. And I think I'm speculating he is. And again, I'm basing it on the fact that, quite frankly, quarterbacks typically do get better.
So if he doesn't take a step forward,
then A&M's going to probably, okay.
But if he doesn't take a step forward, from an overrated, underrated standpoint, if he does exactly what he did last year, this year, over 12 games, okay? Mm-hmm. Would he be in your top 12 quarterbacks in the SEC?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what everybody else does.
Was he one of the top 12 quarterbacks in the SEC last year that ended the season starting?
Probably, I would think so.
So I think he's properly rated.
Yeah, I mean, what's the guy's name?
Adam Spencer. He's been on the show. He's a good guest. He knows. I mean, he does good work. But sometimes I think we write things, and like I just want to understand the how, the why, right? Just the how and the why. That's it.
I'm not saying the guy's right or wrong. I'm just saying that, my biggest issue with that is he's overrated, but who's rating him higher? I would want to know where you start.
Right.
What's your reference to decide if somebody's overrated or underrated?
Right. And
are you going to look at what? Do you have a consensus of what 5 or 6 different outlets have if they have?
Sure. And to me, like the hype meter, are you basing this on social media? Well, every fan base loves their quarterback at this point. Well, not every, but for the most part, right? Like, I am sure that Bo Perbula is getting a lot of love. Like, this guy could be the truth, right?
I'll say this. I don't know if you take it into context, a guy that was not supposed to start, got thrust into the starting lineup because of injury, had won 3 games but was taken out because of injury, and then put back in. So the offense never was tailored to him, because you do that in the offseason.
Right.
I don't know why you would look at that and say, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw really good things from him.
I did too.
I didn't see consistency.
But if we're doing a 1 through 16, I think, I'm fine with.
I'd probably have him somewhere around 8.
8, 9, 10 in the range, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, currently hanging out at the Holistic Planning
Cool Zone.
You know what else is cool? Call in the show. 979-693-1150. We'll pick it up on the Buppy's Catering hotline. Let's go around the room left to right and say hi to the people. Behind the glass is Nick Savish, who took a few days off, looking rested and ready to go. What's up, Nick?
Howdy, good morning, y'all. Yeah, I feel great. Thanks to Luke for giving me time off. And I think I need to take vacation more often because in the time I was gone, A&M men's track and field, they win a national championship. A&M recruiting starting to get rolling, picks up 2 commits, and it seems like they're trending in the right direction for a few guys. So I think, I don't know about y'all, but I think I need to take a few more days off.
Yeah, actually, Luke did really good.
So I can take forever off, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, if the Aggies are going to be better because you're not around.
Honestly, it's like we have to sacrifice your position for the Aggies to win.
I would do it. Yeah, I would do that for the people.
What's going on in your world?
Nothing much. Just getting back in the groove of things, and just like I said, it seemed like just from this past weekend, official visits and all that good stuff. Seems like A&M recruiting's rolling in the right direction, and I really like the offensive linemen they added yesterday, and I'm interested to hear what Bronny, Billy, Jason, all of them have to say about him.
Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate you. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis. I don't know why I did that accent. Hey, Ava, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. What's going on in your world?
So speaking of the O-line commit, Bronny posted yesterday on his Twitter, this is what he said. He said, the more I watch the new O-line commit, Sam Roseborough, on tape, the more he reminds me of Blake Ivy coming out of Clear Springs in the class of 2024. Clear power, snap, and aggression right alongside easy, smooth athletic traits.
Okay.
Look. Again, they got him on the line. He's on the line. Now I got to get him in the boat.
Yeah. But you're in a better position.
He's on the line.
Yep, you're in a great position. What else, Ava?
There was a verbal volleyball commit yesterday.
Big deal.
Yes, yeah. Sophia Peterson. She's 5'11", a setter, number 1 2027 prospect from prep volleyball. Oh, sorry, number 7. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that.
But number 1 setter?
No, I'm sorry. She's number
7.
Number 7. Okay. Sorry, 2027 prospect.
Number 1 in our hearts.
Yes, number 1 in our hearts. Sorry, she led Brian Nelson High School to a number 1 national ranking by Max Preps as a sophomore.
Where is that high school? Does anybody? I mean, is she from Texas? Is she from out of state? Do we know?
She's got the info pulling up at her fingertips right now. She's going to break it all down here.
Because Matt, have you heard of? Is it Brian Nelson or Byron Nelson?
Probably Byron Nelson.
Byron.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that would tell me
it is in Texas.
Yeah, it was going to say, I thought it was from the Metroplex.
So there's a school up around the name for the golfer?
Apparently so.
All right. Well, I think that's cool. I wonder what their mascot is.
Apparently so. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll give a performance of the week. It's pretty easy. Don't say who it is yet. It's pretty easy. I mean, I'm going to let you have the first one, but we're going to do performance of the week here on the program. Right now, okay?
Yeah.
We talk about Texas volleyball, right?
Yeah.
The state of Texas volleyball and Texas A&M volleyball, which is on their way to hopefully a national championship here in the next couple of years, if not this year.
Maybe this year.
A national championship for Texas barbecue would be?
1775.
Why?
Well, first of all, it's Texas barbecue. Texas barbecue is not just the best in the nation, it's the best in the world.
Right.
And, I mean, nobody does it better than 1775.
They're the very best at doing it. They were featured in Texas Monthly's top 25 new barbecue spots, and they have at least 25 things you want to eat.
Oh, well, yeah, but yeah, I mean, because the desserts, we never talk about the desserts.
Yeah.
They're homemade right there.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm going to start
What
with.
did I have? I had the bread pudding, right? I think
Was that what it was?
I think so. Whatever it was, I just kept on
kind of
eating
like a pie. It was,
yeah. We had a couple things.
There was a what do you call it? Cinnamon roll cheesecake one time.
Oh, yeah, yes, that's right. That's right.
That was pretty good.
That was delicious.
No, but the first thing I'm going to go for when I get there is probably the pork ribs, if not the jalapeno cheese sausage.
Yep.
And you can't pass up that succulent brisket. I saw somebody get a sandwich, just the brisket sandwich. Man, the thing's
huge.
It was huge. They've got great sides,
Mm-hmm.
especially the queso mac and cheese, especially.
It's so good.
So many, but
1770,
can't go wrong.
1775txbbq.com is the website. Go check it out. Call them up, 979-492-6241.
World champs.
1775.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We'll go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because we have a little clarification. Not only just start from the top. How about that?
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Texas A&M is excited. They got a verbal commitment from Sophia Peterson.
And she's the number one recruit.
Yes, number one 2027 prospect from Prep Volleyball, and ranked number 7 by Prep Dig. She led Brian Nelson and
Byron Nelson.
Byron Nelson to number 1 national ranking by Max Preps as a sophomore.
There you go. All right, OB, let's do Performance of the Week. And Jamie Morrison getting one of those Performance of the Weeks because that guy can just recruit, flat out coach and recruit.
Yeah, he's doing an amazing job. Are you looking for an individual?
I don't care
I don't know if I can break it down. Look,
you could just say
men's track team won the national championship.
That's all you got to say, bro.
What makes you? Yeah, I mean, if I had to break it down, I'd say like Sam Whitmarsh or somebody like that. But
or Auhmad Robinson, who saved the day.
You know, they won the national championship. That's a Performance of the Week.
Yeah, Pat Henry.
Performance
of a lifetime.
Indeed, 37 national championships.
Just the guy just wins no matter what.
He does.
Another one. I'm going to give one to somebody from a different school.
Okay.
You see what Gage Wood did yesterday in the College World Series?
Yeah, for Arkansas.
19 strikeouts, no hitter against Murray State. Elimination game. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, the Arkansas wishes they could have got
that performance against
half
LSU.
A performance, of that, because their starter Root. Yeah, he was walking guys and had trouble. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, but congratulations to that performance. It was, one of those memorable ones. Did you pay attention to the NBA Finals at all?
I saw Oklahoma City won.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in them. I had the game on. I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I watched a little bit of it. I know that Indiana made it a little more interesting.
I got a question for you.
I'll probably answer
It's about college baseball, this World Series.
Yeah.
I'm sure Christian and Cruz are probably on their way to being students at Texas A&M.
I hope.
Had they gone to another school, would you root for that team?
No. If they play sports for that school?
Yeah. No, not if they played, but if they went to an...
No, hell no.
No. So, because if you knew it'd make them happy if their team won.
Well,
it'd have been on the team, right?
Well, let's dig a little deeper because it's not that easy of an answer. I think it's an easy answer for me. The answer is no.
Okay.
My wife went to Texas. I hope Texas loses everything they ever do. Everything. All right? I want them to lose wars. I want them to lose games. I want them to lose academic standards. I just don't want them to do well in anything.
Okay.
That's just how I feel about it.
It's your wife. It's different than
it's not different. It's the same.
Come on. All right.
I'm just saying, it doesn't. If you're saying, if Christian and Cruz went to Texas, it'd be real quick, understanding. Guys, you will not watch a Texas game in front of me. You will not trash talk in front of me. All right. This is how you get to go to college because of what Texas A&M did for me. So you have to have A&M in your heart, or I don't want to hear it.
Right. Okay.
That's it. Now, if my sons somehow played sports,
well, that'd be different.
I can't use them as an example for Texas Tech.
They don't play soccer.
Right. But let's just say tomorrow they said, but we're not going to say Texas. We're going to choose any because I'll vomit. Okay. I'll vomit blood on the air.
I don't want you to do that.
Right here. Okay. Let's say that they went to Florida State. Whatever. Okay. Alabama. LSU. I would only root for that sport for my child who plays for that team.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
I'm between that rock and the hard place kind of thing,
But I don't find LSU the disdain that I have for LSU is more. It's not the same. It's just different.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Because if Quinn went to Texas, I know you wouldn't be rooting for Schloss to win.
No.
So there you go.
But LSU's kind of the Wicked Witch of the East. Texas is the Wicked Witch of the West.
Anyway. I don't want them to win. I want Coastal Carolina to
win.
I
know it makes my son happy.
I wouldn't mind Arkansas winning, to be honest with you.
Dave Van Horn's kind of a likable guy.
Yeah.
And he's that coach that's so close so many times. and comes up short. So, yeah, I think as annoying as Arkansas fans can be with their calling of the Hogs and all, I wouldn't mind if he won it.
Yeah. Let's have a break here. Let's talk a little NFL on the other side.
Let's do.
Are you friends with Charean Williams?
I am. I like to think we are. I am.
She's great. Right now, Ground Shuttle, they offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. So if you have kids that go to A&M summertime, you're trying to get them home for 4th of July, that's really the best way to do it. If they're going to fly out of Bush, let Ground Shuttle take care of the driving, so you don't have to worry about parking there. It's expensive to park at Bush. And also, it's just the headaches of navigating through Houston traffic, parking there, the construction always at Bush. It's just let them do it. They'll drop you off. And they've got 9 shuttle times on weekdays every hour and a half and 5 shuttle times on weekends every 2.5 hours. They're excellent for business travelers, commuters, you name it. They're fantastic. You can book any vehicle in their fleet to accommodate your charter service. So if you want to go somewhere out of town, they'll do it door to door. That's what they do. Their shuttle services seat up to 14 passengers. The website is groundshuttle.com. It is groundshuttle.com. Go check them out. And we're back. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Charean Williams joining us to talk all things about life. Charean, good morning. Yep. All right. Charean, we don't hear you, so we're going to send you a link. Or I think we already sent you a link. What was the first question you were going to ask Charean? I'll answer it for you.
Well, I'm sure it would have something to do with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Dak
Prescott saying that he doesn't care about his legacy. He wants a championship.
Yeah, that would be high on the list.
Yeah.
I wonder, if there's any reason to feel that they could be better than a 500 team this year. Well, I guess nobody's a 500 team. They play an odd number of games.
Right.
But they can win more than 9 games. Can they? And why? When do you now? When does the camp open for those guys? Sometime in about 3 weeks.
I'd say a little bit more. It's usually towards middle to end of July. So yeah, about 4 weeks probably. Yeah. I
assume she's going to that. So then, what are some of the big storylines that you're going to be looking for when you get out there? Maybe some of those.
I want an update on the Shamar Stewart situation.
Well, the Bengals are idiots.
Yeah.
This is so typical. The Bengals really may have the reputation as being the cheapest organization in the NFL. So they're always trying to cut corners and pull. And from what I understand, they want Shamar to they want to put some language in his contract, basically, so his money,
his guarantees
won't
in the
be
future.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like everybody else.
Well, and they started doing it with other players as well. Like it's the Bengals who are basically guinea pigging, Shamar and others.
Yeah, a lot of times I have an issue with the players holding out.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't, and it's not because Shamar went to A&M. It's like, there's a deal in place that the NFL and Players Union, all that, agreed to, and now it seems like the Bengals are trying to find a way to.
Well, they're doing the same thing with Hendrickson too, their defensive end. So
and he's holding out.
Yeah, he's holding out, but I believe they're still talking, and I'm not sure if there's talking going on with Shamar right now.
If teams are going to start doing that crap like that, and this could come back to haunt A&M in the future, because players at other teams could, but they ought to allow players to go back to college.
Here's a question from Wixon Ag for you, OB. Question for OB. By your accounts, teams can't get better year over year. By that, what? I don't think he said that. By that, thinking, why will our O-line be better? Same guy, same coach.
I don't know what he's saying.
By your accounts, teams can't get better year over year.
When have I ever said that? I was just saying
you were saying that Marcel, you would expect him to get better in his second year.
Now, I would say that certain teams, when they lose players that were highly instrumental and maybe primarily responsible for the success of a team, and when those players are gone, like I've talked about at Missouri, it makes me question how good they can be the next year. I mean, it's rarely are teams always good. Alabama was.
Right.
Even Georgia took a step down last year after losing. Now, they didn't take a big step, but they took a step down. So I don't know if he's referring to what I said about Missouri, but there are certain teams, you look at them, and it's who did they lose? How impactful were those players on the success of the team? And do I think the next guy's going to be as good? Because the next guy isn't always as good as the last.
Well, I think there's different layers now, too, because there was a time, and I still think that time is still going better than for others, but when you were in Ohio State, you were in Alabama, you were in Georgia, that because you have recruited at this elite level, that, yes, there could be a step back, but it's not as big of a step back. But I think with the transfer portal era and with guys leaving and your depth being decimated over time, that some other schools don't get that benefit of the doubt, and even some of the top dogs potentially don't. We got Charean Williams there on the program on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Charean, sorry about that earlier. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good. We were just discussing like why certain teams maybe aren't as good year after year when players leave. Like Georgia in the past, obviously, they lose some players, they reload. But I think in this new era of the transfer portal, that is not as much of a guarantee as it once was.
Yeah, I agree with you. Used to the best players wanted to go to the teams with the histories. That's why you saw Alabama as good as they were for as long as they were and things like that. Guys want to win. And now it's about the money, not about winning. And the money's spread out. So I think that spreads out the talent more than what it used to do. And you don't have those players sitting in the wings saying, all right, I'll wait a year and then it'll be my turn. Or in Arch Manning's case, wait 2 years, it'll be my turn. You're just not going to see the Arch Mannings, I don't think, anymore. I think you're going to see guys, if they don't play as freshmen, or at least by the second year, you're going to see them hit that transfer portal and go somewhere else. But it is about the money now. And I just think that spreads out the talent across way more schools. Not a ton, as we know. There's only certain schools that have that much money, but it does spread out the talent more than what it used to do.
Hey, speaking of money, Charean, and David was talking about this before you came on. So who's right and who's wrong in the Shamar Stewart Cincinnati Bengals issue?
Well, I side with Shamar just because it's a clause that's never been in the contract. It's a clause that's not in other guys' contracts. And it's not, you don't worry about him getting in trouble. Like, there's no reason to do it. There's nothing in his past that says that he's going to do something off the field that is going to negate your future guarantees. They just want a chance to get the money back. And also, by the way, if they put that in there, it also means he can't speak out against management. He can't speak out against other players. He can't speak out against his coaches. It's just a clause that shouldn't be in there. And so I side with Shamar Stewart on this and hold your ground. But there's a point, Olin, that you got to make a decision, and it's probably getting really close. Like, are you going to play this year, or are you going to sit out all year? You've already missed all of the offseason program. Not getting that experience and those reps that you get in practice that are very important. So he's already wasted all of that. And again, it's not his fault. He's following what his agent's telling him to do, and I think he's in the right here. But still, you've missed an awful lot of time to try to come in and get done what you need to get done. He's a developing pass rusher. He's not a finished product by any means. I mean, he's not a Nick Bosa stepping in there as a first-round draft pick, based on what he did in college. So he's got some learning to do. But he's got, at some point, one of them's either going to have to give, or Shamar's going to make a decision. Either I'm signing it or I'm not playing this year. And if he doesn't play, I just think that's a really, really bad thing.
Charean, what can you tell us about the future plans of the Texans practice facility? I think they're trying to decide where it's going to be, and it's supposed to be the most state-of-the-art, which obviously that's what the NFL does.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys opened theirs in 2016, for people unfamiliar, the Star. And, they built that 12,500 seat indoor stadium right there that they use for indoor practices, and it was brilliant. And they use it for, obviously, high school games for Frisco ISD. But then Jerry owns all that entertainment district, all the restaurants, all the bars, all the shopping area right there, all the apartment complexes that have gone up around that. And that's what the Texans want to do, something exactly like that. Their team president worked for Jerry Jones previously, so he knows what went into that. And so that's what they want to do wherever they do that. It might be outside of Harris County, could be in Harris County, but they have a lot of people who want to do this, a lot of different entities, whether it's cities or counties that want to do this. And some want to move outside of Harris County. So they'll have a decision to make whether they want to stay in Harris County or go elsewhere. But it's going to be a beautiful training facility away from the team stadium. Only 4 teams right now have their practice facilities at the stadium. And it's problematic because you think about all the other things that go on at a stadium, the concerts and all of that sort of stuff, and they're kicked out of there. And they can't use that home facility like they would like to use it when there's other events going on. They have to work around that. And that's not what you want for an NFL team. You want to own your own practice, call the shots, and do what you want to do when you need to do it.
Be interesting to see which suburban areas are going to contact them and try to lure them there with some, incentives and things like that. Woodlands. Hello.
Yeah.
The Woodlands
Makes
speaking.
sense.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, Charean, let's talk a little bit about the Cowboys. I saw where Dak is not concerned about his legacy, although winning a Super Bowl would change his legacy. But he's totally focused on that.
Yeah, he said he needs just Super Bowl for basically his peace of mind, for his sanity is the word he used. And every quarterback needs one. I mean, that's what you're judged by. People forget you if you didn't win a Super Bowl and had a great career for the most part. Dan Marino is one of the few quarterbacks we consider one of the greatest of all times who doesn't have a Super Bowl. Normally, that's how we judge quarterbacks, is based on their Super Bowls. And the fact that he's 2-5 in the postseason doesn't bode well for his legacy at all. To me, in my mind, and I'm sure Olin agrees with me, I wouldn't even put him ahead of Danny White, because I think Danny White is an underrated quarterback and got the Cowboys to, 4 consecutive NFC championship games, whatever it was, played in. But he was really good. And the fact that he got him to the championship game, to me, says that he has done more. He did more in his career than Dak has done so far in his career. There is no doubt Dak needs to win a Super Bowl to solidify that legacy. If he wants to be up there with Aikman and Staubach in team history, that's what he's got to do. That's the 2 quarterbacks at the top, and then it's just everybody else at the bottom.
Are they even a playoff team this year?
Yeah, I think they are, Olin. I really do. I think they're much improved. The schedule's obviously really hard. The division's obviously really hard. But they're better. And on paper, to me, they look like a playoff team. It's just hard when you're in that, there's 2 teams ahead of you that you got to fight to jump over. That makes it very difficult. But yeah, I think they're a playoff team. I think they're going to be good. I think they win 9 or 10 games. I think the easiest bet, what are they, 7.5, I think, is the number of wins in Vegas. To me, that's the easiest bet you could ever make if you want to win some money.
I'm going to load up and head to Vegas.
Yeah.
Charean said so.
Charean, great stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Charean Williams on the Puppies Catering Hotline. We got to her a little late, so we're hitting the break late. Right now, whether you're chasing birds at sunrise, casting lines from the bow, or sweating it out during a scorcher at Kyle Field, Duck Camp has the gear to keep you cool, comfortable, and looking sharp no matter where the day takes you. Their performance-driven outdoor apparel is made for the blind, the boat, and even those early Aggie football games where the only thing hotter is the seats or the scoreboard, hopefully. And here's their lineup. They got the lightweight performance hoodie, breathable, quick-drying, made to battle 100-degree kickoff heat. They got the Scout shorts, tough enough for the hunt. They've got the Essential hoodie, so soft, so comfortable, and the lightweight fishing shirt built for the flats. Whether you're gearing up for the hunt, fishing for a trip, or just trying to survive September in College Station, Duck Camp's got you covered. Check them out at duckcamp.com. Built for the outdoors, designed for everything else. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Final segment of the Go Hour, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour is presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, earlier we got that text from Wixon that was about you, and then he goes on to clarify it, and I'll allow Miss Ava Davis at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center to break it down.
He says, Olin always says, why would they be better in regards to LSU defense that returns a lot?
Well, you know.
They weren't that good.
Yeah, they weren't that good. They returned Harold Perkins from injury.
Mm-hmm.
The people that follow LSU were saying that they were better when he was without him last year. Teams ran on LSU pretty easily last year, so why would they be better? Tell me, yeah, you can get better, but why are they going to get better? If you're going to say, well, they were playing soft freshmen last year and freshmen are going to be sophomores, okay, maybe. They might. It's like I'm saying with Marcel, he might be better. I expect him to be better because quarterbacks typically are better.
But how much better?
But how much? I don't think their secondary was that great either.
Well, I think the comparison with the offensive line is this, when they compared it to the A&M offensive line. The A&M offensive line was pretty good last year.
It was very good last year, and everybody's back.
And everybody's healthy. They had 2 major injuries last year. You lost Mark Naboo for the entire season, Chase Basantis at the end of the year. So that's a why.
So, yeah, well, I'm glad I know which team, that he wants to talk about, because with LSU, they haven't been good defensively since 2019, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, really good. And I don't even know how good they were that year. They were so good on their offense winning the national championship. So until they actually show me that they're good defensively, I'm going to have some questions.
Thank you, Obi. When we come back, fresh off his honeymoon, Josh Pate. That's next on TexAgs Live. And we're back, abruptly stopping the music here on TexAgs Live because we got to get straight to the Buppy's Catering Hotline and talk to Josh Pate, presented by our friends at Academy Sports and Outdoors, because he's fresh off a honeymoon. He's got a suntan. He had a bunch of mumbo jumbo going on in college football while he was gone. Josh, welcome to the show, buddy. How you been?
Wasn't that great, David? Everyone, I guess it would have been about a week ago this time. Everyone's freaking out. Biggest day in the history of college athletics. Can you imagine just swinging back and forth on a hammock half a world away, occasionally checking your phone when you have service? Did something happen? Yeah. And then you roll back over, go back to sleep. That was my life last week.
You know, it's interesting. When I have vacation, I can't wait to have vacation, and I need it, and I want to get away. And then when I'm there, I'm thinking about work, like content that I want to do. Like I get fresh. Like the recharge is a real thing. Like you come back like refreshed with like things that I hadn't thought of before, because when you're in the middle of it, you only see 2 or 3 feet in front of you. When you're away from it, you kind of get a different perspective. Was that the case for you?
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect. I came to CBS in January of 2020. I haven't taken a vacation day since 2020. I've not been gone a single day because I consider my job a vacation. Basically, when you cover football, it's kind of a vacation. So certainly I have not taken a week away. I didn't know. I didn't know how to handle myself. To be honest, I still don't know how to handle myself. Some would argue I never did know how to handle myself. But yeah, the inclination was there to make sure I was at least somewhat plugged in. I took some business calls in the morning because we're like renegotiating a bunch of deals right now. So I couldn't totally unplug. But as far as putting content out, as far as doing hits like this, as far as like covering anything, yeah, I was about as out as one could be, because that's what everyone told me I should do. So I always follow the crowd, as you know. Never a leader, always a follower.
So for me in this show, it's like football season's 24/7 for us. All year long we talk it. But there's a different level of energy and focus, I think, once baseball season ends for us. Then we get to this part of the summer. We're a month away from SEC Media Days. And I think that's the next chapter of like the refocus. Is that kind of how it is for you?
Yeah. So this is also the time of year where, like I was saying, if you have deals that you want to renegotiate, like everyone shapes their contract to come up this time of year, whether it's me or whether it's 15 other people. So that's going on. And then obviously simultaneous to that, if you want to maybe add people to your staff internally, this is when they're free to move. Then you also have the ability to talk to coaches, because relatively speaking, this is as free as they'll ever be. I think also from an ideas standpoint, whether it's with you guys, whether it's with me, if there's any big picture changes you want to make, maybe you were going to add on to the studio, maybe you were going to go in a different direction, theoretically in your content. Well, this is the time of year that you workshop all that stuff. So it's kind of the same way in college football. Like if you're going to go visit a staff, this is probably the time of year you're on the road as a staff visiting another staff. This is, I call it accordion season. You know, the accordion as an instrument, it expands, it contracts, but it's very flexible.
Yeah.
Most of the calendar year, you don't have that ability. This is the time of year that you kind of have that ability. Some use it to go vacation. Some use it to, completely change their org charts. It's all over the place. That's the nature of an accordion.
Unfortunately, though, like the real only new news that we get right now is in a courtroom, right? Or like law, or like a boardroom meeting. Like that's it. Like there isn't like everything here is hypothetical when it comes to football, right? You would think, except for like, all right, we're going to make this move. We're going to do this with the playoffs. We're going to do this, and like that's. And I don't necessarily like reporting on that, and I think you're the same.
Definitely am the same. You also, if it were just you and I talking, that'd be one thing. But you also, like me, you're doing a show where you have an audience that watches that show. So not only are you talking about your personal interests, you're also responsible to serving the interests of the audience. That's actually what the whole purpose of the show is. So what if they don't want to hear about it? How do you format the show? Though, this used to not be the case. Maybe 15, 20 years ago, I remember this time of year would be the preview magazine season where they start to come out. Mm-hmm. Now, here's part of the danger of the way back when. All right, if it's June and I go pick up a preview magazine, you and I know nothing's happening on the football field between now and the late August, early September. But if I form an opinion, if I think A&M's going to win the Big 12 at the time, if I think they're going to win the Big 12 in June, man, it gets old saying the same thing for 4 months. So you start by late July, early August, start wrestling with your own internal self, and you start changing your opinion, and you look back by the time the ball gets kicked off in the first week of September, you look at how radically your opinions have changed, and you say, what changed my opinions?
Right.
Nothing's happened. What could have changed? Well, the answer is redundancy. So maybe, just maybe, out of all the negatives, if I'm trying to pull one layer of positive, it's that the distraction that all the rulings and all the settlements and whatnot give now is you don't stay as focused day to day on the monotony of prediction season, to where, who knows, man, maybe we'll actually nail some predictions, ironically, by focusing less on the sport. Again, it's not the dynamic I like, but I'm just trying to be positive, David. I don't want darkness everywhere.
Right. Hey, so I did want to go to something that you tweeted. I think you tweeted, maybe it was on a YouTube clip, but that the college football rules only matter if people are scared to break them, get coaches and ADs on the record. Do they really want structure? I kind of want to go into that for a moment, because I really think that is not only the truth, like, it's the same way in life, right? With children, like you ground them, but then tomorrow you let them go to their friend's house. Is that really, are they really scared of that rule? And with this new structure, I still don't know if those rules are more suggestions until somebody gets in trouble.
Yeah. So we were talking about that on the show the other night. The first one I did when I had come back was the House settlement had been passed. And, what struck me was, while I was gone, I've got this group text of guys I grew up with, are pretty hardcore college football fans, pretty traditional in nature. And a couple of them, when the House settlement passed, had the sentiment of, well, there goes college football. Oh, it's done now. And even on a beach in St. Lucia, I was asking them, what are you talking about? What do you mean? You're like me, okay? All these guys feel the same way about the sport I do. So how is it gone today if you didn't already think it was gone yesterday, if that's your opinion? I said, and they said, well, how can you defend this? I said, well, first off, it's not my case to defend. But secondly, judging by the language of this settlement, we've got a cap on spending now, do we not? We've got revenue sharing now. We've got NIL guardrails now. Whether you can enforce them is a whole nother topic. But we also, if this is adhered to, you're infinitely less likely to see a ton of churn in the transfer portal, because there's incentive for guys to stay on a roster. So I said, what are you talking about? Like, how is this worse today than it was yesterday? But then you go back to what I just said. Okay, well, can you enforce it? I used the metaphor of, like, Thomasville, Georgia is an area in far south Georgia, it's just north of the Florida line. And if you grew up in Columbus, where I grew up, if you were going from Tallahassee back home, if you went to a Florida State game per se, you have to come through Thomasville. Thomasville is one of the worst speed traps in Georgia. So when it says 30 miles an hour, everyone drives 30. They don't even go 5 over, because they know you've got GSP on the side of the road constantly. Well, that's the same way with this. You can talk about how everyone's agreed to these new rules, and if anyone runs afoul of them, you're going to get heavily fined, or you're going to get stripped of this or that. Coaches are going to be suspended multiple games, or this is the worst one, you get a reduced revenue cap. That would be big time. Is anyone scared that it's going to happen to him? And what I was saying, and I'll keep yelling this, is every time you hear coaches talk, every time I talk to them, every time you hear ADs talk, they all talk about the same thing. They all say, we want rules, we want structure, we want to know what the deal is, and we want enforcement. I don't know if you have. I haven't heard any coach say anything other than that. So if that's the case, I'm perfectly willing to take you at your word. But what I was saying is, get them all on the record at your spring meetings or whatnot. Get them all on the record. Ask every one of them to their face, is this what you want? They'll all nod their head. All right, so do we all agree we want this? Yes. Okay, if it's a consensus yes, then you won't mind if we have extremely rigid, tough penalty structure for people who violate this, right? They'll all agree with it. What I'm saying is, I'd love for that to just publicly, just be on the record, because no one's going to push back on it publicly. And that really helps you down the road when inevitably someone does run afoul of it and you drop the hammer on their head. they can't really push back. You've got their own words that you use against them. And I do believe most people want this. I do believe most people want this structure. It's like the usual case of, I mean, if a kid's in your class cheating, you're trying to get the best grades in the class. You've got that whole catch-22 of, well, I don't want to cheat. I studied all night. Like, I would like to do this the right way. But if that dude's got the cheat code right under his sheet and no one tells the teacher, I'm going to finish second best through no fault of my own. That's how most of those coaches and ADs feel. So just get it on the record. Just be fully transparent about it was my whole point.
And well, they want rules for everybody else. Maybe not themselves. They're not going to break a lot of rules, right? But they'll, maybe they'll dabble a little bit in this rule breaking. But for sure, they don't want Ole Miss to do it, or Georgia to do it, or everybody else.
Yeah. So therein lies the crux of my point. Get them on the record. If they say it behind closed doors, cool. You assume, just take them at their word. You assume they mean it. I assume that Nuño University, when he says he wants these rules and he has no problem with hard and stiff governance, well, okay, then let's say it on the record. Let's get it on the record. Because really what they're scared of is twofold. They're scared of enforcement, but everyone's terrified of having their words used against them. But you don't worry about that if you don't intend to run afoul of the rules. Like when I take my wedding vows, well, I'm not really nervous because I fully plan on adhering to everything I said. If I didn't, then maybe I should work in some language here where down the road I could use it to weasel my way out. It's the same way with this. And then obviously the entire third rail of this is, can you enforce the rules, period? Yep. And that's the whole fight right now in Congress. That's the whole fight of, can you get the limited antitrust exemption? I mean, I've been on record as saying I'm rooting for them to get it. And I'm the last dude who ever wants to rely on the federal government to help anything or save anything. But it's not a perfect world. It's not. We're not constructing college athletics right now. If we were constructing college athletics from scratch, I wouldn't be advocating for this. But we're well down the road, so we're sort of in cleanup mode. And when you're in cleanup mode, when your yard's a disaster, your neighbor who you don't particularly get along with may have the blower, or may have the rakes, or may have the stuff and equipment that you need, and you just kind of grin and bear it, and you accept his help and hope for the best, I guess.
Talking to Josh Pate here on TexAgs Live. I want to go back to something you said earlier, that you feel like with this new structure that maybe people won't take advantage of the portal as much. And I don't disagree, but I don't know if I agree. Like, what is your thinking? Why do you think there'll be more incentive to stay? Why do you feel that?
Yeah. So this is going to be, it's common sense to me, but it's probably going to be a little more unwritten. And I say this because of feedback that I've gotten sort of at the conference level with the Big Two. The ideal structure is a tiered or escalating incentive structure of earning, to where if I enroll as a true freshman at Nuño University, if I'm on your roster, if I'm a scholarship player, there's a certain baked-in elevating guarantee of earnings that I'm going to get. If I'm there as a sophomore, then if I'm there as a junior, if I'm there as a senior, it's basic incentive structure of earnings to get me to stick around. Now, there's no rule, as you'll notice in that house settlement, there's no rule that says you had to do that. I think what there is there's sort of an unwritten nod of the head and understanding amongst everyone, this is needed. So let's all be adults about this and structure our rev share in a responsible way. It's the way you should do it anyway, right? But it's also the way you do it to serve the sport. Now, what happens there is if everyone largely operates off that same premise of sophomore is going to earn more than freshman, junior is going to earn more than sophomores, et cetera, then what you don't have to do is you don't have to have language that makes the portal go away, because that's illegal. You can't do it. But what you would do is you would greatly reduce traffic in the portal, because guys would know I'm free to leave anytime I want to. However, if I leave, I kind of give up my status, my earnings status, and I go kind of start over as a year one player at a new university. Now, for some guys, that's still going to make sense. But for many, many, many more guys who just haphazardly have been jumping in the portal just to see what's there, I don't think that's there anymore, because they know there's a much more tangible reason. I can touch it in my hands. There's a reason for me to stay here. And then you, of course, get the downstream effect of guys learning, lessons we used to know up until 5 minutes ago of what's sticking it out and weathering adversity in the storm and whatnot, what that can sometimes yield.
So follow up to that, when I've changed jobs in the past, right? Like one of the, they offer me 2 weeks vacation at this place. I'm like, but my last place gave me 3 weeks. Like, can you guys kind of grandfather that into this? Do you think that can happen? So, hey, if I stay at A&M, I'm going to be tenured a second year, a third year. If I'm going to go to Georgia, can you guys put me in as a third-year player at Georgia? Do you think that is maybe what could happen?
It could happen if it's left up to the teams. That's why I wish this was run at the conference level. Like my thought on this originally was for the players to be employed by the conference. If you're when I say employed, I think we know what I mean there. Mm-hmm. I wanted the revenue share structure itself to be coming more from the league than from the individual teams. Because if I'm Texas A&M and I badly need a middle linebacker, and Georgia's got one who's a third-year player, and it's just up to me. If I'm desperate enough, I'll say I'll pay you as a third-year player. Come on, and that probably. It still reduces the roster churn, but it doesn't reduce it to the level that I wish it were reduced to. And so my answer to your question is I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that'll work. I think on the other side of that, though, if you're Texas A&M, like if you're Derek Miller sitting there right now and you're running your payroll and you're saying, does it make sense for us to be implementing that kind of practice, to pay a first-year guy for us as a third-year player because he's a redshirt junior? I think each department's going to have to call that on the fly for themselves. I would hope just league-wide, sport-wide, that's the rare exception to the rule. And I also hope that if you've got established names, like if there's a guy, A&M, legitimately feels deserves star-level money, and he's playing at Florida or at Georgia, I hope the guy doesn't want to leave Florida or Georgia, because I hope the structure of the sport is such that guys look at leaving a place where they're established the way you used to look at it and say, why would I ever do that?
Josh, do you think the NIL Go and Deloitte and that whole structure actually has legs that can work?
No. Not as currently written. No, that's why I don't even pause when we're telling the story. Like my mom, I was down at home for Father's Day this past weekend, and my mom was asking me, what does all this mean? She's a very, very, very casual fan. She watches the games on Saturday. She's a big Tennessee fan. So if Tennessee's playing, she'll watch, and she has a loose understanding, but she's not following this stuff. And good for her, by the way. So she was asking me, what happens now? And I was laying it out for her, and sure enough, her question was, wait, so they're saying that beyond the revenue share, any additional money that someone wants to pay those kids, it's got to go through a clearinghouse, and someone else is going to determine what their market value is. She said, isn't market value just whatever you can make? And I said, yeah, in the normal world, yeah, they're trying to circumvent that. And she said, isn't that illegal? And I said, good question. Yeah, it probably is. So when I'm telling the story, I don't even stop. I said, ... And mom, that's why they've got to get congressional help, because otherwise, if you don't have that limited antitrust exemption that says, hey, those rules wouldn't work outside the bubble of college athletics, but we, Congress, have granted you the right to implement those rules inside college athletics, it's pretty cut and dry to me. No, it's not enforceable. And I mean, can you imagine being a lawyer that specializes in this right now? Can you imagine how many times per day you have to wipe the drool off your face, looking at this stuff and knowing what's coming? And you could be talking about football players, but David, you could be talking about a female track athlete at Oregon too, and knowing, I mean, I got a mountain of Title IX lawsuits over here. I've got a mountain of all kind of different lawsuits. There's no shortage of business as long as they don't have antitrust exemption.
Josh, I do want to ask you an actual football question before I let you go.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is spun off a couple different topics we've had in the last couple of days. So just follow me here for a minute. How do you see the transfer portal changing the SEC this year, and when I need to clarify or ask it better. You look at the last 3 Heisman Trophy winners; they've all transferred. Caleb Williams transferred, Jaden Daniels was a transfer, and Travis Hunter was a transfer. So how do you see the new influx of players in the SEC potentially changing the landscape of college football?
Well, my mind goes to Oklahoma immediately because, and I could be missing someone, but that place like Oklahoma and Mateer and bringing his offensive coordinator with him, that's the place where I think there is a transfer player, like you just mentioned in previous years, that could fundamentally change the SEC race, that could fundamentally change the playoff picture. Because I really do think that much of Oklahoma's roster, independent of the tough schedule they have to play, I think that much of the rest of that team, where if you could rub that magic 8 ball you have right now and tell me, hey, OU gets A- quarterback play this year. Well, they still got a tough schedule, but then it turns into, hey, everyone on their schedule's got to play Oklahoma too. Like Oklahoma all of a sudden becomes a really tough draw. And so, if we got to December and we did this blind test where you said, hey, guess what? A transfer portal player will have fundamentally changed the complexion of a conference race, a league race. I may be wrong, but I would think that's got to be Mateer in Oklahoma. That's first place I'd go.
I think that's the but my mind doesn't allow me to not look at that schedule. Like it's so, like I look at these team schedules, I'm like, God, but you're exactly right. It works both ways. Like you've now got to face
Carson Beck at Miami. He's got the injured wing, and it's also Miami, and they dropped the ball last year. So I think the public perception is trended down on Miami. But what if they get A- quarterback play? They may have one of the best OCs in the country. They hired a really good defensive coordinator out of Minnesota to rectify the disaster that was Miami defensively last year. Maybe that's where the boom happens.
Josh, great stuff, man. Happy to have you back.
I appreciate it, David.
See you, man. Josh Pate on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break, open segment, then we'll talk to Adam Spencer about overrated, underrated, and just fairly rated quarterbacks in the SEC. He wrote an article about that, and also about pressure to make the playoffs. He has a couple articles that I want to break down. Right now, Heritage Films, farm and ranching families think different. Agriculture families understand something that city folks sometimes miss. Life moves in seasons, and each one matters. Farm and Ranch Films, which is the newest offering from Chance McClain and Heritage Films, is the way to tell a story, how you bottle those moments before they're gone. Imagine your grandchildren not seeing how your operation of your ranch looked like beforehand, right? You want them to be able to transfer those values for future, and that's what he does. He doesn't just do film interviews. Chance is a storyteller telling your story, your family business story, your family ranch story, your dad's story, your uncle's story. He does these awesome cinematic legacies, these documentaries that will last for generation after generation, Netflix-style quality production. What you need to do is visit yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them, 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Came away from that Josh Pate interview just thinking, you know what? I feel a little better about the direction, but not necessarily better. Because it's kind of what we've talked about over the last, 7 to 10 days, whenever it came down. That like, it is a step, and it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion, right? With guardrails and rules, and it's better than what it was before. But how enforceable is the future? And when coaches find loopholes, because everybody finds loopholes, then what are the new set of problems that'll come? But for right now, at least we have this structure in place. And look, the agents are going to find ways to expose, and lawyers are going to find ways. And it's just the beginning of a new set of problems, and then we'll address it when we get there. But this might just be the way college football is for the next 5-10 years of constant kind of trying to fix something, but really leaving some issues with the foundation. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis has got some news to report. Ava?
Yes, Texas A&M's Trinity Buchanan and Sydney Fuller earned invitations to a U.S. Soccer College Talent ID Camp, which will start tomorrow, June 18th, and go through the 22nd in Georgia. Buchanan and Fuller are among the 42 players called to the first-of-its-kind camp. The event is part of a U.S. Soccer Youth National Team's growing scouting strategy and expanding the players' pools for national teams. Texas A&M is one of 11 colleges with multiple players selected for the camp. It's a 5-day camp, which will consist of 3 training sessions and 2 inter-squad matches.
All right. Congratulations to them. I know you had another one for us from the golf world.
Yes. Adela Cernasek. She was a former Aggie, finished
Never a former Aggie.
Oh,
former
no.
student.
Former student. Yes, she didn't. She chose to forgo her collegiate season or whatever, but she finished tied for 22nd place at the LPGA, shooting under 8 par in the LPGA Classic for Simply Give. When she was an Aggie, she won the 2024 NCAA Division I Women's Golf National Championship as an individual for the first time in program history.
That was awesome last summer. Remember following that throughout. Great stuff there. All right, so when we come back on TexAgs Live, here's a couple things we're doing. Adam Spencer, been on the show several times, nice guy. And as I think as I said in the Go Hour, I'm not here to argue with him. I'm just going to ask some questions because he has Marcel listed in the overrated department. And let me tell you some of the names that are in the overrated department. There's not bad names to be in the mix with. Arch Manning, who we've still got to see, DJ Lagway, and Zach Calzada. I found that one to be the most interesting eye raiser, but we're going to ask him. He's got the properly rated guys as Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Diego Pavia, Bo Perbula, Austin Simmons, Joey Aguilar. On the underrated side, he's got Jackson Arnold. He's got John Mateer, Taylon Green, Blake Shapen, Gunnar Stockton. And Ty Simpson. So I'm just going to ask him, well, how do you come up with that underrated for Ty Simpson when he hasn't really played? Right. So just some questions. It's based on potential. Cool. So we'll ask him how he came up with his list. And then he also has what teams have pressure to make the playoffs next year and where he's got A&M ranked. And just for your peace of mind before we go into that interview, he's got A&M with the 7th most pressure in college in the SEC to make the postseason, to make the playoffs. So we'll talk about that. He's got Florida at number 6. I don't know. I don't know if there's that much pressure for Billy Napier to make the playoffs this year with that schedule. They've got to be better. They've got to be at least 8-4, which is what they were last year. They've got to reach that, I believe, but I don't know if they have to reach the playoffs for him to keep his job. Just my opinion. We'll talk about that on the other side. Plus, we'll get your text messages at 979-693-1150. You can call the show. You can text the show. Actually, if you call the show, I don't know if I can talk to you. So sorry. Right now, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie-owned and operated mobile IV hydration company that was founded in 2024. Their founders are awesome, Sheldon and Danny. They've come by the office before. They're proud to serve this area with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and weight loss options. So whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or a dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. So if you have a busy weekend, you've been out partying and enjoying Father's Day, one of the easiest ways to ensure that you're receiving all your necessary vitamins is through an IV. And their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to this awesome area of the Brazos Valley. To book an appointment or if you want to inquire about their services, you can call them or text them. The number's easy, 979-217-1561. That is 979-217-1561. It is Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to talk a little quarterbacks, overrated, underrated, kind of break it down, and also teams with a little bit of urgency to make the playoffs. with our friend Adam Spencer of Saturday Down South here on TexAgs Live on the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. What's up, Adam?
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. So, all right, I got to be very honest with you. I'm not here to argue. I'm just going to ask some questions, all right? Because I found a lot of your list I agree with about overrated, underrated, but I found Marcel in the overrated department an interesting one. And let me tell you my why first, and then I'll let you kind of explain. I don't know if people have him highly rated. I feel like he's kind of, everywhere I look, he's like between 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in that range, maybe 12. And I feel like that should be fair based on the body of work. But so give me your criteria for how you came up with who's considered overrated and underrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's about hype. I mean, I know that a lot of y'all down in Aggie land are pretty bullish on him. You're right. Like in the 9, 10, 11 ranges, I would say would be pretty properly rated. But, the 6, 7, 8 is where I would probably take a little bit of issue with having him up there. Like, there's no doubt, like he's dynamic as a runner. Like there's nothing that I could say to complain about him there. I mean, if you look at his running numbers and Lenora Sellers' running numbers, like Reed has the slight advantage there. Like they both scored the same amount of touchdowns, both had, similar volume, and Reed had slightly higher yards per carry. But it's the passer. He feasted a lot on the short range stuff. He had like 41 or below 50% completion rate on passes that traveled 10 plus yards down the field. 10 turnover worthy plays on those types of throws. So, I just want to see him develop more as a passer. Like, if he can't throw the ball 10 plus yards down the field, I mean, I'm just not entirely sure that he's a guy who can lead a team with playoff expectations. Would you agree that the Aggies want to make a push for the playoff this year?
100%. But this is where my counter would come. He did lead a team last year as the backup quarterback to an almost playoff push, and they didn't. They were 8-5, right? So it was a disastrous November. I recognize that. Without one of his best offensive linemen at the end of the season and his best running back at the end of the season. So I feel like he did put them in position there. And I would also counter with this, and I don't disagree with you on his passing needs to get better, for sure. But I would also say it was his defense that let him down, not his offense. He put that team in position to win the USC game and the Auburn game. He did not have a good Texas game. Nobody on the A&M offensive side had a good Texas game. But if they win the USC game, if they win the Auburn game, and again, with his exact numbers, I'm not adding anything. I'm just saying defensive stops to end the game. The last plays of the game were defensive plays that were not good. Well, A&M missed the 2-point conversion. But that being said, then I think we look at him different. And I think he is sometimes penalized for what his defense did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably fair to an extent. I mean, the defense definitely did let him down. Not having Le'Veon Moss definitely hurt. Even though, Ruben Owens, I think coming into this year is going to be more than capable of stepping into that starting role and, letting Moss work his way back. I think that's a great luxury for the Texas A&M offense to have here. It's just, I thought he played, a little bit cleaner earlier in the year. Obviously not against the toughest competition, but I mean, that Florida game was pretty tough competition. He caught Florida at a good time. He just played a little bit cleaner though. He had, 10.5 yards per attempt, which was his season high outside of the LSU game where he only attempted and completed 2 passes. So I thought that, the Florida version of him also didn't have a turnover, 83 yards on the ground. Like he didn't have, he didn't reach 80 plus yards on the ground down the stretch either. The 21 rushes for 66 yards against Auburn, I thought was just not super efficient offense. And, I think you're right. In that Auburn game, he did have probably his best overall game as a passer, but just not enough winning plays down the stretch. And I think that the combined with the defense, at some point, if you're a playoff team, like you have to have a quarterback who can overcome some flaws defensively. Like I think that's what hurt Georgia a little bit in the playoff itself was, Gunnar Stockton was not ready to step into a role to overcome some, defensive lapses and make some plays down the stretch.
I promise I'm not arguing. I'm just going to point something out. He put his team in position though with a minute left to win the USC game, which doesn't really count when we're really evaluating. I recognize that. The other thing I'm going to say, which is probably not a good comparison, but I'll make it anyway, because you have DJ Lagway as one of the most overrated. His numbers are very comparable to DJ. So I think he is coming into the season probably 8, 9, 10. Like if I were to, but I can see why he would go up, and I could see why people would be like, I need to see more from the passing game. To me, I think that is all fair. I do want to ask you about Lagway, though. Well, why do you, because I feel like Lagway gets a lot of hype. I see the why behind it, but why do you find him to be overrated?
Yeah, I see the why, absolutely. He's got a cannon for an arm. He can make dynamic plays with his legs, but it's a durability thing. Like, he hasn't, he wasn't even able to carry the load down the stretch last year. He had a hamstring thing, I believe. Then he was banged up down the stretch. Like it's just, I want to see him play 6 solid games. He's missed all spring, which I think really hurts because they lost some key receivers. They lost a couple of offensive linemen. They're still going to have a really good offensive line down there at Florida this year, but they have, he just was not able to stay healthy. And, at some point the best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available this offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got off to a little bit of a sluggish start this year, and Billy Napier in Florida can't afford that.
Let me ask you one more thing about Marcel, because somebody on the YouTube chat kind of brought up an interesting point. Florida had some pretty good receivers. Would you agree that A&M has a better crop of receivers this year, even though they lost Noah Thomas? Just if you look at the receiver group that they're going to go into 25 and what they had in 24, would you say it's a better group, and how that could help Marcel potentially?
I like Concepcion. I was, really hoping that my Missouri Tigers would get him in the portal, So, I think that he's really good. I think that you can't really take what you saw. Like every catch that he made last year in that NC State offense was a borderline miracle because of their quarterback situation. So, you look at his 2023 numbers, and I think that that's the receiver that you're getting. So, yeah, I think that the top end, I think Concepcion is a better number one than Thomas. And I think that, that the depth has improved. So, I do want to see that. Like the only reason with Marcel that he was in the overrated, it was really close to being properly rated. That's what he was down at the bottom of the overrated section. It's just, you got to be able to push the ball down the field at times. And that's all I want to see. And I think that he has the guy to do that. I think Concepcion is a great, middle of the middle route tree. I think he can work the intermediate zones. And I think that that's going to be a big benefit for Reed. And if it clicks right away, I think that that's going to show, and then I'll be happy to eat some crow and say that maybe he shouldn't have been overrated, and maybe I should have looked at the overall picture a little bit better. But I just want to see him push the ball down the field a little bit more effectively.
I want to ask you about our former guy, who's still our guy, Zach Calzada. You have him at Kentucky. He's getting hype. Are you seeing him getting hype elsewhere?
I just think that just the fact that Kentucky has him as a starting quarterback in the SEC is overrating him a little bit. Like, I think that I draw a comparison to former LSU quarterback Matt Flynn. Like there was a week 17 with the Green Bay Packers where he threw like 6 touchdowns and earned like a $55 million contract after that, to go join the Seahawks or the Raiders or something like that. I think Calzada's been feasting off of that A&M upset of Alabama. And I think that that's boosted him. It got him the Auburn job. He's, he did fine at Incarnate Word, but that's just not the same level of competition as the SEC. It's not even the same level of competition as the ACC. We saw Cameron Ward go from Incarnate Word to Miami and have some, and then, Washington State and then Miami and have some success. But I would argue that the ACC is nowhere near the level of the SEC these days. So, I just don't think that Calzada is a starting caliber quarterback in the SEC, and anybody who, even if there's a little bit of buzz that he is going to be good at that job, I just don't see it.
Adam, let me ask you about a couple of underrated guys. John Mateer. I have watched him play. I think the fact that he's coming with his OC to Oklahoma does help a lot in this conversation. But I feel like I see him a lot in the top 5 quarterbacks. Are you saying he could be the quarterback in the SEC?
I think it's possible. I'd say more like he could be in that tier below. I think Garrett Nussmeier is the clear top quarterback in the SEC. I think Mateer's ceiling is probably number 2 in the SEC. I don't think he's going to be as effective as a runner, but I do believe that, everything that went wrong for Oklahoma's offense last year that affected Jackson Arnold, which is why he's in the underrated section too. It's going to be better for him. The offensive line has to be better. I think that they've made some structural changes there. The running game, Jaden Ott from Cal, I think that that's going to be a good 1-2 punch with Mateer and his ability to run. And then Deion Burks, if he's able to stay healthy, like I do think that his first team all SEC potential is there. So, I wouldn't bet on him being a first team all SEC guy, but I could see him being on an all SEC team when all is said and done. And I think that that's when you add in the continuity, like you mentioned with Ben Arbuckle, I do think that his ceiling is higher than top 5. I think it's top 3.
I want to ask you about the pressure to make the postseason, the college football playoffs. You have A&M at number 7. I think that's pretty good, especially considering you had it labeled moderate pressure. Because there is pressure to make it, but there's also, I think, a little bit of grace considering that this is still year 2 of Mike Elko and what some of the other programs ahead of them, where they are at in that kind of stage. So just kind of break that down, the Texas A&M situation at number 7.
Yeah, I think, I think if anything, you just got to improve on 8 and 5. Like that's all it is. Like get to that 10th win. If that leads to a playoff berth, with a 10-2 overall record and like missing out on the SEC championship game, if that's what it is, then great. If it's a 9-3 season with the 10th win coming in a bigger bowl game than like a Texas Bowl or something like that, that's great. I mean, I think you're right. Like this is year 2 under Mike Elko. I don't think that there's any like full-on panic yet, but Marcel Reed, if he takes a step forward as a passer like we discussed, I think that that's a great sign, and then it will set up for 2026 to be a higher pressure year. But 2025 moderate pressure. If they make it, that's like a great season, and if they can just get to that 10th win, I think is the more important goal.
What do you see for them? Like, do you see them as a 9-win team? Do you see them as a 7-win team? What like when you kind of look at them? What do they feel like to you?
I do think that I trust Mike Elko to have figured out the defense. I think that they'll be able to play both zone and man, unlike, some of his comments down the stretch there. I think they'll be able to be a little more versatile on that side of the ball. I trust what Elko is going to be able to build in year 2 after seeing it in year 1. So I do think that the defense is not going to let them down, like you mentioned in some of these games down the stretch this past year. So I think that a 10-win regular season is the ceiling. I would predict 9 wins. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to be a beast to play, and nobody likes to come to College Station as an opponent. So I mean, I would tend to say they're going to go over the 8.5 wins rather than finish with another 8-4 regular season record or drop down to 7-5. I think it just depends on can Reed and Concepcion develop that chemistry really quick, and I think there's a chance that they can.
Adam, great stuff, man. Thanks for your time, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Adam Spencer, Saturday Down South on the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Short segment. That and more. It's TexAgs. By the way, we're going to have Pat Henry on the program tomorrow. So we'll talk about the national championship here in a few minutes. Auhmad Robinson, I believe, will be in the studio. We'll chit-chat with Auhmad about the national championship, the 4x400 relay. That was awesome. What a finish to that one. We'll get his perspective on everything. A little bit after that, Ags in the Pros with Luke and with Matthew Dawson. And we'll close things out on the 10 o'clock hour with a lot more fun stuff like an Ole Miss Insider. We'll break down what they're going to look like here in the 2025 season. Brad Logan will join us for that. Right now, if you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land, or you are already in Aggie Land and you need a new opportunity, you need to look at the Association of Former Students that are looking to hire professionals to join their team. They have typically positions in fundraising, marketing, communication, sales, you name it. They're the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization supporting A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story. Don't miss opportunities to help out with all these marquee events that they have throughout the year. They exemplified those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, selfless service, and of course, excellence, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining a team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs. It's the Association of Former Students. What was that? That was good, right? TexAgs Live. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hoping to get Auhmad Robinson in the studio here at some point. I wanted to go back as we try to figure out what we're going to do here on the show and go kind of break down what we heard from Adam Spencer. And Luke, I don't know if you heard some of what he was saying, but when breaking down Marcel, I don't think he's been... So, Ava, do me a favor. Just kind of Google, while we're discussing this, multiple SEC quarterback rankings, okay? You just Google that, and then I'm sure we can find multiple ones. And just tell me what the consensus is of where Marcel Reed is ranked.
For
okay?
2025?
Yes.
Okay.
All right? And this is not going to be about Marcel. It's going to be kind of like a whole, like, it is such an interesting year because, like, I'll go back to his list. He thought Marcel was a little overrated. And I don't, because I feel like Marcel is, I think you can absolutely make an argument for him coming into this season as the 6th best quarterback in the SEC. I don't know if I would put him there just yet, but I think you can make that argument based on the body of work and the natural progression with better receivers and an offensive line and a running game, okay? But I feel like most of these rankings have him in that area. So, but to Adam's credit, he's like, he was the hardest one for me to do. He was at that next tier, properly rated. I'm fine with that. But one of the things that he said about Marcel that I think is interesting, can he make those down the field throws? He did them in the Florida game, which to me means he can absolutely do them. He said, can he put his team in position to win games at the end? I think he did that several times. Now, if you want to take away a little bit in the Texas game, well, most quarterbacks struggled against Texas's defense, and they did not capitalize. Couple of those, if they capitalize with a field goal to start off the game or a touchdown late in the game, how different is, well, the final score was 17-7, right? So we're talking about 10 potential points right there. So all that being said, as my voice cracks, I understand what he meant by it, and I don't necessarily disagree. But what I do think about it is Marcel's got a lot to prove this year, but so does Arch Manning. And I understand Arch gets the buzz. DJ Lagway, I think do you want me to hit a break, Luke, or do you want me to just let him in? Okay, we'll just roll. So DJ Lagway, I 100% agree. Like, I think he's really good, throws a beautiful ball. Can he stay healthy? I think that's all fine. If that's what's holding you back and keeping him as one of the underrated, I get, or overrated, I should say, come on in. And then you've got Zach Calzada, which the fact that he's a starting quarterback, I guess, is why. All right, Auhmad Robinson is in studio. You can come on in, have a seat. Don't be bashful. You're a national champion.
Sir.
How are you, sir?
Good.
So let's. Has it hit you yet?
Nah, not yet.
No, no, it hasn't hit you yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. So we're on the air, by the way. So we're casual here on TexAgs. So talk about your emotions, man. How real is it? I know it hasn't hit you yet, but you guys just won a national championship. It took an incredible performance at the end. Thank you very much to do it. So just give me the emotions as of on a Tuesday.
It still feels surreal. I mean, we talked about it so much, this upcoming season, and it actually happens. That's just crazy.
So let's go back to the last event. All right, you knew what you guys had to do. Yeah. So talk to me about what was said before. And then let's do the before part, right? So you realize I got to do X, Y, and Z. Our team has to do X, Y, and Z to be able to claim a national championship. So take me through that.
Yeah, coach just came up to us. He was like, we just got to get top 2 in the 4x4, and USC has to get below 6th place or something. So I was just like, this is actually real. We're this close to actually winning the 4x4. And he was also just saying he has been in situations like this before where it comes down to the 4x4, so just go out there and do what you've been doing. And I put my trust into you, and boom.
I've heard him say that before, it does come down to it, right?
Yeah.
So as the day is going, so I remember Luke was talking to us on that Friday, and he's like, look, right now it looks like USC's in pole position to win it all, but there are certain things that can happen for A&M to win it. So before that point where you knew it comes down to this, we need them to fail or fail-ish, and we need to win or come close to winning. But during the day, as events are, is it real at that point, or is it still like, man, too much has to happen still?
Yeah, it's just like a lot of predictions. What if this? What is this? So it's just like take it one event at a time and see what the score. Because the first day we was down with 26 points. Then Sasha clutched up, got to this 10. We was in fourth.
Yeah. And then for you personally, okay, as you're about to start, I know you're just going to do your best no matter what, right? Like, but are you conscious of what's happening in that particular, like, are you absorbing, all right, dude, I got a chance, or is none of that even in your head?
Yeah, it was nothing in my head. And it was so cold, I was just like, I just want to hurry up and get done.
Yeah.
I was just cold, I just want to hurry up and get done.
At what point, as you cross, do you realize, dude, we just did it?
I was, everybody's running to me like, bro, we champions. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Because at first, you're not really thinking about that. After you run, you just ran the whole 400 meters. You're tired. And everybody's, bro, we're champions. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? And I turned back at the scoreboard. I was like, oh, snap. We really just did it.
And now that you're a national champion, does it feel different?
I don't know. It still hasn't hit me
Yeah.
yet. It's going to take a little minute for it to actually like hit me.
How was that arrival yesterday?
Yeah, I ain't liked it. I mean, a lot of people showed up. I appreciate them for coming out there, supporting us. It means a lot.
Let me ask you about Coach Henry, because I get to talk to him every week. I consider him a friend. I think he's got his ways, right? And to talk to me about the method of his madness, because there's one thing to say, this is what has worked 20 years ago. This dude has done it the entire, he's not a has-been. I'm still, at 73, still the guy.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
He's a guru. I don't know how he does it. He's been doing it since I was a kid, and he still continues to leave a huge legacy. So shout out to Coach. I'm forever grateful for him, and I just appreciate him so much.
He seems to be pretty much even keel throughout. Like, what about on a race day? What is he like?
Nah, he's the same. Like, he's just so mellow. Like, he just say, hey, go out there, be who you are, do what you've been doing, you know. Like, he's never get you nervous, nothing. It's just, he's so mellow, and I like that. I'm
going to go through some of the events, okay? You just tell me what you think. All right, so the 400-meter individual, you ran a 46.07, and you all picked up, I think, 2 points for that.
Yeah.
How did that one feel?
I was tired.
Were you?
But I was just like, I went out there and I gave it my all, so that's all that mattered the most to me.
Now, we know that you were the relay anchor, okay? So do you feel that you're at your best in a pressure moment? Like, because there isn't a bigger pressure moment, right?
Yeah. I was ready just to go. I mean, I knew what was on the line, so I was like, I got you, Coach. Just put your trust into me.
Here's another weird one for you, right? I like asking weird questions. Do you understand that, like, we as a school, as a sports program, needed this? Like, for real needed this after the way 24-25 has gone? Like, football didn't finish the way we wanted it to. Basketball's good. You know, softball was really good with a disappointing finish. Baseball didn't do what we expected this year. Like, our fan base needed this.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Crazy thing, my neighbors came out and saw me yesterday, and they was like, bro, we're so happy, bro. Like, y'all got the national championship. Somebody had to do it, and I was like, man, it's crazy. So I guess, as being Aggie, I guess we did need some type of national champion.
So, what is your time at A&M? Actually, let's go back and we'll get to that. Why A&M for you? I think we've talked about it before, but just to refresh the audience, why did you pick A&M?
Really feel like home. I got treated like, I just felt like home as soon as I got here. Not just from like coaches, but like the team, they welcomed me. They just treated me like good. So I was like, forget it, I need to come here. This is the place where I need to be.
How many schools were you looking at?
When I got in the portal, the whole NCAA was like after me.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I want to go somewhere where I feel home. So as soon as I came here, I only came on one visit. That was here. And
that was it?
I committed.
And it was easy?
Yeah. Like, I just feel like this was the place I need to be.
When you look at like what this program has done since Coach Henry's been here over the last 21 years, right? You're now a part of that like incredible history. You've continued that legacy. Does that hit?
Yeah, sometimes, like, you have a lot of greats that came to her. Not even greats, but just Olympians. So just for me to be, a part of that, not also a part of that, but my name will go down in history books. So that just means a lot. I came here and I left a true legacy.
So who was the first person you called after you won?
Well, my mom was there. My granny was there. So
they were there, okay.
there was nobody I needed to call. They was already there to support me.
How was that exchange with both of them for you?
They was happy. It just felt like high school all over again.
Yeah.
Like, I won my first state championship with my team, high school, my senior year. Now, and then my senior year, we won the NCAA title.
So I started with, why did you pick A&M? So now what does A&M mean to you? Along with a national championship, but everything else that comes along.
Yeah, it just means the world to me, honestly. I'm forever grateful, and I'm happy that Coach, took a chance on me.
And then what's next?
So I may be returning or I may be turning pro. It just depends on how everything goes. But, I would love to return, do that 5th year.
Yeah.
And continue the legacy with my coach and my teammates.
Let's do a little therapy session here. Actually, I'll be your marketing agent. I think you should come back. I think the pros can wait a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Look, you got to do what's best for you and your family, so whatever that is. But I think you recognize this is a special place, right?
Yeah.
What is the team going to look like next year?
Hey, coach he's going to get some dogs. I'm going to be the GM, so I'll make sure we get some dogs.
Okay. So have you heard from folks that are what's the portal situation like? Have you heard from folks that are considering going in the portal? Dude, I got to come join you.
Yeah, literally, that's how it was last year. We won that 4x4. A lot of people was like, man, we got to come join. But now we just won a national championship, so I know a lot of people was like, whatever they got going over there, let's go see.
But I got to go back and look at the history, but winning, the success that you all have had this year, and it's not just the NCAA tournament, that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
But if you look at the last 6-7 months, this program has been kind of building towards this.
Yeah, true.
What is it about Coach's style that gets the best results at the end?
I wouldn't even say his style. It's just his mindset. He's been saying all year, don't let the day get away. And we all need to do it on the same day, and we can be very successful. So that's just the mindset. We all been having this whole season. We can actually do it. We have a lot of seniors on this team, and that was our last time putting on that white maroon uniform. So we just wanted to go out there and do the best that we could, and we literally all did it on the same day, and the results showed.
How proud of the women are you? Because they had a phenomenal year too.
We was cheering for the women just like they was cheering for us. We were just happy for them overall because, we all put in the same work together. We all practice together. We all see the grind. So we were just happy for them as well.
Now it's the top dog, right?
Yeah.
If you come back or not in A&M next year, everybody's going to be gunning for you. Is the program's mentality good, let's go?
Yeah, we're ready. We knew we was a target this whole year. We always knew. So that target just, not even no pressure, we just ready to go. Show the people why we are the national champions.
Are there a bunch of vocal leaders on that team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Whitmarsh, one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Jaqueline Scott, another one. And Cooper.
Okay. And are you vocal leader or are you more by action?
I'm more about action. It's like a domino effect. One person go out there and do good, everybody else just kind of follow.
It was a great week, right?
Crazy weekend.
Thank you very much for coming. Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
We're proud of you. We needed it, as I told you, we really needed it. So, and we could use it again. Just saying, in the back of your mind, when you're considering what your future, let's just run it back.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate you. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, we'll do Aggies in the pros. Future pro right here to my left. We'll be talking about him here soon. Insurance, when it matters most, who's going to answer your call? That's Rollo Insurance. At the Rollo Insurance Group, you get a personal agent with a direct number, not a call center, not an automated system. It's the official insurance provider of TexAgs Live. They've been doing it for us for a long, long time. Whether it's your home, your auto, your business, or your ranch, start a relationship with experts who put you first. Your agent becomes familiar with your specific situation, providing customized protection that the mass market insurance simply cannot match. When you need advice or have a claim, you'll speak directly with someone who knows you by name. That is the Rollo difference. They are different than everybody else. I've experienced it, and many folks here at TexAgs have as well. The website is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio, third hour of the program. Sophie Peterson going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. She's the newest volleyball.
Oh, go ahead.
What was that about? Luke was just dancing. Oh,
no.
Camera angles. Sophie, are you excited about the interview tomorrow?
Yeah, Jamie Morrison's a dog. He's been recruiting at a high level, and it's paying off. He's got the number one commit in the country.
Anyway, as I was saying, we're about to do Ags in the pros, but I wanted to give Matthew Dawson props. Why do you think I'm going to give him props?
Because he's put together an unbelievable packet for SEC Media Days, because he's a great leader of our interns.
No, that's not why.
Oh.
I don't know what's coming, to be honest.
No, it's just like I've bragged about you before. I could just say somebody's name and you know a lot about their history. Sure. Today, we read something on the show of an LSU transfer that most people would have just let it go over their head, like just move on. But one of the schools mentioned was not correct. And Dawson came in here, goes, that article's incorrect. Here's the why. You Google it, bam, you were correct. You are smarter than articles.
Well, it's also my job to sit in the back and listen, see, fact check and, do all that kind of stuff. So thank you, David. At least I know I'm doing my job.
Well, apparently people like when you two knuckleheads do this little routine. Matthew doesn't do a comedy bit. Luke does.
I'm here to spice up the joint. He's here to class up the joint.
Well, I don't have the mustache that you do, so you're carrying a lot of weight over there.
He just called me fat.
That's not what I did.
This is where I decide, is this a good idea to have these guys on the show together or not?
Yes.
Okay.
It is funny, it is entertaining, and at the very least, you get to see Matthew Dawson.
Should I ask the audience, how funny and entertaining are these two knuckleheads?
Probably not overly entertaining, probably just mildly entertaining.
I think you guys are great. So
maybe it's a good break.
What do you have for us?
Well, we got MLB stuff. We're going to look at the minor leagues, though. Brady Montgomery, every week we're on here talking about him. Walk-off home run last Thursday. 6 home runs for him on the year for Winston-Salem. He's balling out. Evan Oschenbeck, 7 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts in a win.
As a starter.
Yeah, they converted him.
The converter, yeah.
For the South Bend Cubs, my Cubbies, he's over in that organization, absolutely dealing, earned a Midwest League Pitcher of the Week. And then also Chris Cortez, I think he's flying under people's radar. He's looked human the last couple times he's been out there, but in the month of May, he had a 2.01 ERA. So that dude was flaming, guys.
I feel like Chris Cortez is one of those guys that, once he figures it out, he figures it out. It may take him a little bit, and then when he gets there, he's there.
For sure. When he's accurate and he's painting corners, he's throwing 98, 99. He's getting up there, and it's tough to hit, clearly.
What else you guys got?
We've got some Aggies in the NBA Finals, as we've been talking a lot of Caruso. I missed a stat yesterday when I was going through everything that Alex Caruso has done in these playoffs, setting his playoff single-game scoring record at 20 points and then tying it multiple times. He's got 2 20-point performances in the NBA Finals, making him the first player in NBA history to have 2 20-point games in the NBA Finals after having 0 in the entire regular season. 82 games of no 20-point scoring outputs, and now he's got 2 in 5 games in the NBA Finals. Obviously, last night he didn't play that well, but he was still making impact plays for the Thunder as they took a 3-2 lead. Well, scoring-wise.
Sure.
The scoring wasn't there, but he's got 11 steals in the last 3 games.
Why do you think he's offensively been more inclined in this series or these playoffs? Do you think that maybe teams have, all right, we're going to if someone's going to beat us, it's going to have to be Caruso, and then he is beating him. Is that the why? Or
and I think his play on the defensive end and his hustle plays have been rewarded with sometimes the game of basketball, the ball just finds you on the offensive end when you've been doing things right everywhere else in this game. So teams have figured out, okay, we can't let Shea go off for 30 points, now have the Pacers stop that from happening. No, but they want to turn him into a distributor, and sometimes that means players like Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren and Alex Caruso see their scoring numbers go up.
Okay.
You want to see the Pacers win to take it to Game 7? I do.
Oh, well, Scott Foster's refereeing Game 6, so of course there's going to be a Game 7. We know this. The script is out there. We figured it out.
Is he the most hated NBA ref?
Probably. Maybe Tony Brothers.
It's got to be Foster, right?
I think it's entertaining that
if people know your name as a referee,
true,
you are really bad, or an umpire, people know your name, that means you're bad.
Who was the referee? Maybe it's Foster that if the Rockets had him, it was guaranteed.
It was Scott Foster. Yeah.
That
And I feel like they're not the only team. Like the Mavericks, I think, had the same claim, right?
Yeah, and like Chris Paul specifically has
Chris
like a
Paul
beef
has,
with him.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was like when, the odds were not in his favor whenever Scott Foster was refereeing. And if you are on NBA Twitter, which by the way you should be, because NBA Twitter runs the league now. I don't know if you've seen this, but they were complaining about no logo on the court. Okay, they put a finals logo on the court. They weren't showing the introductions. Guess what? Last night they showed the team introductions. And also they've been calling Scott Foster the extender. So once we figured out that Scott Foster was refereeing Game 6, odds are it's going to a Game 7. And that is per NBA Twitter.
NBA Twitter is awesome, by the way.
It is.
I don't recommend it for the faint of heart, the weak. It is certainly a space to be on, but NBA Twitter is top 3 Twitter space.
Oh, for sure. The names that some of these players have, we cannot repeat on air, but just know they are associated with some of the most hated organizations on the planet.
Hey, I know that are there any Aggies in the pros to finish off with, or is that it?
Sure. But
how about Emily Kennedy?
Okay, talk to me about Emily Kennedy.
Yeah,
I was going to ask a question, but let's do that in a second.
Give me the question.
No, go, please.
Emily Kennedy, 5.2 innings pitched. She's only given up 1 earned run. The Bandits are 5-1 right now, so she currently has the best ERA on her team of females that have pitched over 5 innings. So she's kind of dealing right now on a good team in the AUSL. Which
that league is getting some TV run. I've seen a lot of commercials. I've seen like a little bit of a hype around it.
And look, Rosemont, like Illinois, that's like a really cool area. Like you got a lot of like great restaurants, like cool places to be, and like if you're going to be around there and you can catch a softball game for a couple hours, I think it's a really good job that they're doing over there.
I did have a question about the XFL. I know we didn't have any Aggies participate in the game this past week.
You mean UFL?
Oh, we did.
We did. Anthony Hines. He was on the losing effort.
Sorry, we didn't have a winner, but
correct.
No, he won.
Okay.
No, the DC Defenders lost.
Okay,
I could have sworn that they won 58.
This is not good on
They
the air.
won. The DC Defenders won. You are tripping.
I totally thought I watched that game.
Anthony Hines
Oh
led
my
the team
gosh,
in tackles.
guys.
No, I think you're right.
Jordan
I just had
Hamlin
to
threw
wonder.
almost 400 yards with 4 touchdowns. We had the DC Defenders take home the UFL championship.
I totally
They are the UFL champions.
Wow.
I totally turned that on. I
Luke
swear.
Evangelist
I turned
over
that
here.
on and I thought Michigan had won. I was clearly not paying
58
attention.
to 34 final.
Yeah, I remember watching the post game. It didn't clock in my head that that's what would. Matthew, you got it.
Unbelievable.
Well, Mike, sorry.
Yeah.
To me, they're the XFL. I understand they're the UFL. Just my mind goes there. Are they going to survive? Because I don't know if I'm semi interested in it because Aggies are involved, but I'm not like I don't have. I felt like I watched it more a couple years ago than and maybe it's because of COVID. Well, no, they ended right before COVID, then they came back. I don't know. I'm not that interested in it, but I'm interested in the Aggies.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do though, right? Like, do you try to set it up like more of like a minor league system, so maybe like people are more inclined to pay attention because certain teams are affiliated with like the actual like professional team?
Here's what I would do. I would bring back the World League of Professional Football, whatever it was years ago, and I would have most of my teams in Europe. And be
That's
that
not a bad idea.
a development league for the NFL, right? An actual development league for the NFL, but you put those teams in Europe.
I'm sure Callie and Allie and Katie have been scouting a lot of potential European football players on their trip, so we can maybe get them to jumpstart this league.
Anything else, gentlemen?
That's it from us.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Next time, Luke, please know. Just say, no, they lost. No, they won.
You know,
the face that Matthew Dawson made, wait, what?
I don't know.
You had me second guessing, and I was like,
it's written on the sheet, but in my mind, I swear I watched. Maybe it's a Mandela effect, but I swear, I watched that and I was like, I turned it on, saw the post-game presser, and I was like, oh, Anthony Hines' team lost. Okay, I'll turn it off.
Well, he led the team in tackles.
Yeah,
6 tackles.
Clearly, I was watching, but I was not paying attention, and that is my bad. And that's the last time I'll ever make a mistake again because I don't
Probably the
want
last
to be in
time
trouble.
you'll ever be on the show.
Yeah, it was a good run. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate you. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks, guys. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center and get an update. Then we will hit a break before we do an Ole Miss breakdown. Ava Davis.
Yes, I have.
I know we had a text that came in and a couple of notes I think you had prepared.
Yes.
Edward in Austin says, Reed has a better touchdown to interception ratio and QBR than Lagway. And what I'll say to that is, yes, sure, great, I agree. I'm not trying to make the argument that Reed's better than Lagway or not. When I make that comparison, I just, again, and I don't want to make this too much of the show, but when I heard that he needs to put his team in more of a position to win, I'm like, he did put his team in position to win several times at the end of last season. In fact, the South Carolina game that got away from Texas A&M, no doubt about it, if you remember, they were down 17-0, and that could have been a point where like they called it a day, but they came back and they took the lead. I think it was 20-17 right before the half, and then unfortunately they gave up a field goal, and South Carolina took the lead. But my point is, Reed puts them in a position to win many games, and if they close out those games, we look at them different. That was my whole point. And DJ Lagway, he put his team in a position to win games, and they won games in November, and that's why he gets, I think, a significant bump, along with his incredible arm, and everybody sees the potential. I just see a different potential for Marcel Reed than I think some of the outsiders do. And call it maroon goggles or not, you can see the proof in the way those games ended, the way Marcel played with the games on the line, how he put his team in position. That was my only point. All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we'll talk a little Ole Miss football. I know they're not on A&M's schedule, but they got a different look to them this year. No Jackson Dart, Austin Simmons. We'll find out what's cooking there at Ole Miss. Right now, if your car was hit by that hailstorm a couple of months back, don't trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car. Trust somebody local. Trust somebody who has standing the test of time, who's been in this market for a long time. I'm talking about Classic Collision and Restoration, who specialize in paintless dent repair for hail damage repair. So those out-of-town pop-up tents are already gone. They may be calling your phone, but they're not local. They're not going to be here. They will not be around to help you when some of the work isn't guaranteed. But what I'll tell you is that Classic Collision will guarantee their work. They have 25 years of experience in this market, and countless customers have trusted them and come back over and over time. If you need top quality auto body repair, you got to trust Classic Collision and Restoration, who's here to help you. Don't get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated, Doug Leopold, class of 93. You can call them up, 979-779-8399 or online, classiccollisionrestoration.com. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically, we start off the show in this section, and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Closing out the show here, talking a little Ole Miss football. I know that A&M is not playing them, but they are always an intriguing storyline. Let's talk to a insider, Brad Logan, joining us here on TexAgs Live to talk all about all things Ole Miss. Brad, how you been, buddy?
Doing well, David. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for joining us here on the program. So let's just talk about, I feel like, just tell me if you agree with this. Last year, Ole Miss underperformed, and this year they are kind of in that point where they could overperform based on what I think projections are what they should be this year. Does that sound fair in my overall statement?
Yeah, very fair. And even if you look back and talk about Ole Miss not performing, historically they overperformed a lot because that is back-to-back seasons for the first time in program history that Ole Miss had won 10 games. If they could do so this year, would obviously continue to be more history written by head coach Lane Kiffin. And I think they can overperform this year and not have a 10-win season. I think a 9-win season would be really good for this team this year because of all the talent that they lost on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, I think they'll be, really good. Defensively, I'm not sure, but I think that's a very fair statement. If you look at what Ole Miss was, if they could beat Kentucky or could have beaten Florida, they could have had a chance to make the college football playoff for the first time in program history. Couldn't win either of those games, but did win 10 games. So I think you can look at it from two different ways. Number one, I think it was a really good year for Ole Miss, but number two, I think it was a disappointment in a couple of ways.
So when we look at the quarterback story since Lane Kiffin's been there, I mean, Matt Corral was so good. And I remember when he moved on, I was like, there's no way that Jackson Dart's going to be this guy this quick. But he turned out to be the guy. So is it because of Austin Simmons' arm and what people have talked about? Or what is it that makes people feel that comfortable? Like, here's another one. Here we go again.
Yeah. I think he's more of a Lane Kiffin system quarterback. When he came to Oxford, he was a two-sport athlete. He was really good from the left side of the mound. He could throw it, but he was so good on the quarterback at the quarterback position. Coach Lane Kiffin said, "Yeah, you're just going to play football here at Ole Miss." The starting quarterback, and we saw what he could do when he was put in a pressure situation coming in against the University of Georgia last year and then led the team down the field in a crucial drive. So we've seen him under pressure situations. I think more than anything, it's the way that he sees the field, the way that he's got a lot of zip on the football. And he is very similar to Jackson Dart. I don't know how much he's going to run it. Jackson ran it a lot more earlier in his career than he did last year. I think a lot of that was because of his ankle injury. But number two is just to try to stay healthy. The year before, he ran it a whole lot, would lower his head and got kind of the side-eye treatment from Lane Kiffin in many ways, and also offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss wanted to try to keep him upright more. And then they did a lot better job of that last year. Trinidad Chambliss, a junior transfer, along with Malachi Smith are two guys that have come in through the transfer portal that will be available should Austin Simmons not be able to go at some capacity. But A.J. Maddox is a guy last year and the year before that has provided to be a really good backup role and someone I think that could provide some help to Ole Miss if something, like I said, were to happen to Austin Simmons. But this is his team, and like you said, it's going to be his team as the team lines up against Georgia State the first game of the year, and we'll see how things go at him at quarterback. And it'll definitely be a different team without Jackson Dart at quarterback for Lane Kiffin.
Different team with a different quarterback, but that's not the only change. Is it 14 starters from last year's team have moved on, and we know that he's the portal king, but how has he replenished some of that talent?
Well, I think the number one thing Ole Miss needed to do last year, David, as we saw, is when Henry Parrish Jr. went down and Ulysses Bentley did not get the carries that everyone thought Ole Miss should have went that direction at the running back position. Ole Miss had a walk-on running back, a walk-on wide receiver at running back by the end of the year against Florida. So Ole Miss had to do a really good job of going to the portal and refilling that running back room. They did so by getting Logan Diggs from LSU out of the transfer portal at running back. Dominic Thomas is a senior transfer, is someone that got some yeoman carries, if you will, but he won't be the guy that gets the lion's share of the carries. Keywan Lacey, the transfer out of Missouri, is a very talented running back. Initially was committed to Ole Miss early in the process, would eventually go to Missouri and then enter the portal, and now he's back to Ole Miss. And then Damian Taylor, a redshirt senior transfer. Those names are bodies that Ole Miss really needed in the running back room. So that's definitely an area that Ole Miss is going to have to really build back up, and that's what they were able to do in the portal. I think, oddly enough, David, tight end is probably the best position that Ole Miss did a really good job in the portal. They went to the portal and got Luke Haas, a talented transfer out of Arkansas, to go along with Daquan Wright, who was also a transfer but was a junior last year, and he'll have another year of eligibility. Trace Bruckler, a redshirt senior transfer, another big component to this offense. So I think, wide receiver, I think possibly could be the most talented room for Ole Miss this year, other than tight end. I think they really stacked the tight end room, because at wide receiver, you've got five-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham from down the road from Oxford and Ackerman, Mississippi, the number one player in Mississippi. He'll get a look this year, along with Winston Watkins, a freshman out of Florida. Caleb Odom, the transfer, along with Harrison Wallace, another senior transfer. Dejon Stribling, senior transfer. You see where I'm going with this. Traylon Ray, another transfer. So the entire wide receiver room, with the exception of Caleb Cunningham and Winston Watkins Jr., are going to be transfers. That's going to be another talented position on the field. But like I said, I think offense is going to be fine. They went to the portal and got Patrick Kutas, along with Delano Townsend, a sophomore transfer, and P.J. Wilkins on the offensive line. So I think there are other areas there that they filled the mold. Defense, David, I think it's where Ole Miss is going to really struggle compared to last year. You can't lose that much talent across the defensive front and just replenish that the next year. So there's going to be a fallback. I don't know if there'll be a huge fallback on offense. There'll be a big fallback on defense right now, on paper anyway.
How did Walter Nolan fit in at Ole Miss? Obviously, first-round pick. He had the potential and he lived up to it. But was he a good fit? And did he overperform, underperform, or perform exactly what maybe the analysts were expecting?
Yeah, I think he was right where Ole Miss wanted him to be. I mean, there was a little bit of acclimation period there at the beginning, but the latter part of the year, you look at games against, we talked about Florida, Mississippi State. I thought he played really well, and he was frankly unblockable. They would have, as you guys would know, they would put 2 and 3 blockers on him to try to block him. And anytime you put 2 and 3 blockers on one particular player, that's going to free up other players. And that's where you have guys like Suntaran Perkins, the linebacker that stepped up and made some big plays. And you talked about linebacker, and Ole Miss, they lost a lot. I mean, Pooh Paul made almost, it seemed like, every play for Ole Miss on the defensive side of the ball, who's now in the NFL. But they're gonna lean on Suntaran Perkins. TJ Daugherty, a junior transfer, is a guy that's coming back. They're going to be leaning heavily on him. You have to fill guys like Prince Williamami Ellen, and that's a guy that made a ton of tackles off the edge. They went to the portal and got Deshaun Womack, the junior transfer. We'll see if he can kind of fill some voids. Xavier Harris and Jamarius Brown, 2 guys that got a lot of snaps last year, but don't have the cachet as a Jared Ivey or a J.J. Pegee. So there are going to be a lot of questions you have to answer there. I think Will Eccles and Cam Franklin, 2 Mississippi products, they'll get called upon on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line, to try to make some plays. Andrew Maddox, a freshman that Ole Miss could see. But frankly, David, I think the secondary is the biggest question mark on this team. And Ole Miss struggled a lot last year, but they had Trey Amos that would eventually go in the NFL draft, and I think he's going to be a really good player in the NFL. But you had to go to the portal. You've got Jalen Braxton, a junior transfer that dealt with some injuries while he was at Arkansas. Kapina Gashakin, the senior transfer. Sage Ryan, a senior transfer. Just a lot of unanswered questions. Andy Jaffe's a guy that's been in that secondary for a couple of years. We'll see if he can kind of acclimate and get a little more snaps. Maybe Cedric Beavers have played in the JUCO system for a couple of years. So just questions, David. Frankly, we just don't know right now with the secondary with Ole Miss. But, they've got some things they're going to have to put together. The good thing is they've got Georgia State to open. They're at Kentucky, and then Arkansas at home. So you can kind of fill some things out. Not as easy as the schedule as last year early on, but at least a little more conducive to when you're not starting out with LSU, Oklahoma, Florida in the beginning. You're at least starting out with teams that you should beat on paper.
Brad, have we reached the point where the Lane Kiffin to a bigger school conversation is going to stop? Because, like if Florida becomes open, I'm sure his name will pop up. But have we reached the point where, like, look, he's happy at Ole Miss. He likes his name out there, but he wants this. Like, what is the feeling about Lane Kiffin long term at Ole Miss now after having opportunities and not leaving?
Right. It's not. It doesn't have near the legs that it had in the very beginning. I think there's a comfortability level there with his family here in Oxford. With his son now is enrolled at Oxford High School. He'll be playing quarterback for the Oxford Chargers here locally. I don't know his whole family dynamic, but I think he has one daughter that's at school at Ole Miss. So I think you talk about roots. And Landry Kiffin even made the comment that when the Auburn job, and it was very real a couple of years ago, whenever Lane Kiffin's name was mentioned for the Auburn job, is that she had a conversation with her dad and really wanted him to stay. And Lane even mentioned that was a huge reason for staying. So I think family roots mean a lot to Lane. He was very close to his dad. His dad was on staff in a couple of capacities and before he passed away. And so Lane very much values family, and I think that has a large play into him staying at Ole Miss, at least for the foreseeable future.
How is he to deal with as a media member and just because we see the trolling acts that he does on Twitter, which are hilarious. We see some of the commentary with coaches, but how is he to deal with one-on-one or maybe in a group setting?
Absolutely. He's been very fair to the media. Every moment I've had a chance to be a part of the media corps, pre-game, post-game, he's very Nick Saban-ish, David. And what I mean by that is he's never too high after a win. He's never too low after a loss. And he's very much nothing like you see on social media in the media availabilities. But he's been very fair to deal with. But the Lane on Twitter /X and the Lane on Instagram is absolutely not the Lane in the press room. That's for sure.
Brad, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Brad Logan breaking down Ole Miss here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around the SEC. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. In today's fast-paced world, Caldwell Country Chevrolet brings that car buying experience to your fingertips. Just get online and you'll see. You can browse their constantly updated inventory where those deals change month to month. You can watch or you can match your perfect vehicle with what you need, calculate your trade-in value, even start the financing process, all from the comfort of your home. They're more than great deals. They're great supporters of A&M Athletics. They really support everything that A&M does, especially on the athletic side. And when you shop with them, you're supporting a business that gives back to the community. If you're ready to experience the difference, what you need to do is go to CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com and you will become a Caldwell Country Chevrolet customer for life. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jaxer Group. Let's see if Nick Savage has anything to tell us about the SEC.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. It's a casual conversation with Nick.
Yep, that's typically how they go. So right now, there's actually college baseball action on just because
the LSU game from yesterday.
UCLA game got stopped. So they're currently playing. LSU's up 7-3 in the middle of the 6th inning. They would advance into the next round. The loser of that game actually has to turn around and play Arkansas later tonight. So you'd think Arkansas in a really good spot there to, they're going to have to play someone who's playing their second game today. So coming off a no-hitter as well. But other game going on today, this isn't the SEC, but we'll keep an eye on it. Louisville and Oregon State. That is an elimination game as well. The winner of that one will advance to play Coastal Carolina tomorrow at 1 p.m. So
I'm all in on Coastal. I'm a Coastal guy.
Yeah. Would they win in 2016? Something like that around there?
Yeah.
I know we should know that, but I don't. But yeah, they won it recently. And yeah, out of the field, definitely want to keep an eye on that. But hey, I will say I was just in Rosemary Beach, and it's kind of like
humble brag.
Yeah, humble brag. It's a very much a melting pot of all
SEC.
things SEC. Yeah, I've met a couple Aggies, lots of LSU people, talked to them about the World Series, got to watch.
I'm interested. How did you beat the Aggies? Did they have a shirt on? You go up to them? Like, take me through that.
David, typically, here's vacation Nick, and Nick now today is completely different because, and my wife Maura could tell you that. We were out in public.
Hey.
That is not, that's the whole Sick Planning cool zone. Typically, if I see people, you can come say hi to me in public, by the way, if you recognize me. But I don't really, I'm like you. Like, I'm going to small talk, not really my thing. But I saw a few people wearing A&M shirts. I'm like, babe, look, there's an Aggie. And just like, hey, man, what class are you? And just talk to them for a little bit. And
were you hoping like, dude, are you the Nick Savage from TexAgs?
No, well,
partially.
A little bit. There's a little bit of me that's like, man, I hope they watch TexAgs or hope they consume TexAgs content. That's cool. But didn't meet anyone and talk about that. But it's just really cool is what I'm getting at to meet all those different fans from all the SEC schools and get to talk to them.
All right, and we're going to go back to Ava Davis at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I gave her a project, and she came up with the answers of where Marcel was ranked in 3 different publications.
Yes, 24/7 Sports has Marcel Reed ranked at number 11.
Okay.
Athlon Sports has him ranked at number 9.
Okay.
And Saturdays Down South has him ranked at number 6.
The interesting part about all that is Adam Spencer works for Saturday Down South. So it's his company, his own company, that has overrated Marcel Reed in his eyes, while the others were more. That was my point. Like, is he overrated or is he like rated? With room to grow. Room to grow, just like this show, because Bronny's going to take over on Thursday and Friday. But I'll do it tomorrow. We'll see you mañana.